What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored, as always, for the warm-up by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and want to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. Triple Point Brewery, as always, for the warm-up. Thank you to them for their continued support. It's always our pre-match venue before the games. I'm also going to give a shout-out to VMB Auto Centre, who are a great sponsor of this channel as well, and didn't get their usual shout-out on 90 after 90 because we don't do a 90 after 90 on midweek games, especially the 8 o'clock kickoffs, because I'd be here till 2 o'clock in the morning probably. So what do we think to last night then? So this is going to focus a little bit on last night and a little bit on the build-up to Newcastle. I'm just thinking now, because I've been rushed off my feet today. I haven't even done my own team, but I can tell you what my team is off the top of my head, and it's no different to what Wilder put out last night. I think he did exactly what he said he were going to do. I put a tweet out beforehand that said it's a brave team, something along the lines of, nobody's going to convince me that he's not the right man to turn us around. Just because I think he identified that Sousa, Gerbic, who's his signing, you've got to have some bottle to take your own signing out of the team and admitting when you've got it wrong, because he has. Even though you can cast your eyes to Matt Duke, who recommended him, Wilder's still signed it off. There's no getting around it. It goes through him. So even if you delegate a job and that job goes wrong, it has to come back to the main man. So fair play. He's dropped Ivo Gerbic. He's dropped Vinny Sousa. And one of the bigger calls that he made, obviously he dropped James McAtee, but making Ollie Arblaster captain. Ollie Arblaster, one of our own. What do we think to that? I am delighted that he's put faith in such a young lad. He said afterwards in the post-match, he's been our best player, or he is our best player, I think were his words. I think Gus Hamer might have something to say about that at the minute, but absolutely brilliant. It's all right me coming on here and saying, come on, I think he's brilliant, but I don't want to build him up too much. And then Wilder comes out, fair enough, and he's the man, he's the gaffer, makes him captain and says he's our best player. So if that's not giving him huge shoes to fill, or certainly bigging him up and, giving him every confidence in the world, I don't know what is. So this kid is going to be brilliant. And I think he started off fairly slowly last night. He dived into an early challenge that I was surprised he weren't booked for. And I thought we were lucky. I thought we were lucky at a couple of occasions. But warmed up, got into the game. And yeah, I thought held his own, more than held his own. At Old Trafford, by the way, yes, it's not the ground it used to be. Well, it's the same ground, but it's not the daunting theatre of dreams that it used to be currently. But it's still going something into it to go to Man U. First time you're wearing armband of your own club at 20-year-old. 20-year-old, I'm double his age, and I'd be absolutely bricking it, to be honest. So fair play to Arblaster. From what I understand, some away fans who, again, represented us magnificently, always do every time they go away. Fantastic support from the travelling Blades again. Brilliant. I understand we were trying to get a bit of a song going. We've had a little bit of a go in our group today to try and get some ideas together. No, groundbreaking. But if anybody's got any ideas for a song, then feel free to drop them in comments or message them through to us at Ramble, and we'll put them together, see if we like it, we can put it together and see how it goes. But we need a song for one of our own, Ollie Arblaster, because hopefully he's the man that we build the team around. We shall see. Another big call, obviously, was Wesley coming into the starting 11. So it's a funny position to be in this, because Wes did brilliant yesterday. Can say no other. He let 4 goals in, but it weren't his fault particularly. Or, you see that a goalkeeper's let 4 goals in and it doesn't really scream as a strong performance. But let's be right, it's one of the best goalkeeping performances we've had all season, whoever's been in our goal. And fair play to Wes for that. He's got it in his locker. We know that. We've seen those sort of performances from him from time to time. People are now going crazy. We've got to sign him up. Why has he not been in the team? Why have we been, pursuing with Gerbic and persisting with Gerbic? Well, it's very easy to say now, isn't it, after Wes comes in as a blinder. I would have to say, just as a little bit of a reminder, Wes was also awful. I think his attitude stunk as well when he was understandably upset at a pending replacement coming in. He's the one that chose not to sign a contract. This could have all been done and dusted. He's signed and sealed when Eki was still here. So it's not a Wilder problem per se. Wes is the one that stalled on wanting a strong contract, a Premier League contract, let's be right. And that's fine, but you're going to be a Championship goalkeeper next year, even if you'd have stayed with us. And if you'd have signed that deal, chances are he'd have got a lot of game time next season, because we are now, it looks like, scrambling around for at least 2, if not 3 new goalkeepers, because I can't see any of the 4 staying at the moment. But on last night's performance, do you think it changes Wilder's mind? I don't personally. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't think it changes his mind. And would you re-sign Wes? I want to know that in the comments as well. A big criticism of Chris Wilder last night was the substitutions. I saw some comments that Wilder's thrown this away. Wilder's cost us the game. I mean, when that team selection came out, I was absolutely buzzing with it. Absolutely buzzing. I mean, I can give or take whichever goalkeeper's in goal, because I don't think any of them are good enough. And admittedly, Wes played very well. My dad sat next to me saying, I'm glad I ain't got a YouTube channel where I've been slating Wes for half a season, because that'd be embarrassing going on and talking about that, wouldn't it? Well, I'm here. I'm fronting up. And I stand by what I'd said previously. And I won't reveal what some of his calls have been over the season that haven't quite come off. But I think we're a much better team. We aren't McBurney in it. I'm not saying Archer pulled up any trees necessarily, but we looked at last night. But McBurney's had good games this season, and I don't mean to sort of kick a lad while he's now out for the season, which we'll come on to. But Wilder's subs last night, and I can't avoid, I'm not going to jump on, because Wilder is the reason we played so well until the subs came on as well. We can't forget, he sets the team up. We looked really disciplined. And I knew as soon as we brought any sub on off that bench, we were going to get weaker. And I know that's standard, as you should be playing your best 11, but I really liked the 11. I didn't understand. I understood the reasoning because he said it, but I would certainly not have brought Brooks. I'm not saying Brooks were pulling up any trees, but I wouldn't have brought Brooks off for Vinny Souza, who's been one of our worst players this season. At half-time, I thought we looked weaker with Souza on the pitch. And then the one that's blown my mind, really, and I can't excuse it. And I'm not always necessarily looking for excuses. I just like to sometimes try and understand the rationale behind it, but I can't with this one. I'll chuck a couple of things your way, but long and short of it is, Jayden Bogle goes down injured, which is a regular occurrence, unfortunately, for most people in this squad, not just Bogle. We bring him off. Thankfully, what Wilder has noted as a precaution during the game. So we bring Bogle off. Let's have a look at what we've got on the bench. Who have we got? We've got Larouci, who's a left wing back, so it doesn't really fit on the right-hand side, although we have played Ozzy on the different side. So you could have brought Larouci on for the left. You could have taken Ozzy over to the right. We had, who else did we have on bench? Sam Curtis. We had Sam Curtis on the bench, a right wing back. Yet to make his debut, I understand that, but the manager has even acknowledged we've got nothing to play for this season. We're playing for pride, essentially. We're not even, chances are we can't even get to 19th, like we've mentioned. So why not? Sam Curtis has got to be kicking himself. There's somebody that, in an exact position that he plays, gone down injured, and for 10, 12, 15 maybe minutes, he could get to play at Old Trafford. Instead, and I understand the thinking in terms of experienced player, Wilder brings on Ollie Norwood for a right wing back, moves Mason Holgate out of position to right wing back, moves Vinny Souza out of centre midfield to right centre back so he can slot Ollie Norwood in. I didn't get it. And there's no way that I can try and spin it as a positive. I just did not understand. I know he's going for the experienced head, and you've also got to say, as a professional footballer with hundreds of games under his belt, Ollie Norwood should be able to come on and help at least get a grip of a game or control a game to some degree. Vinny Souza should be able to slot in at right centre-back because he's played defence before in his career and at least do a job for us. But we looked all over the place. It critically weakened us. We quickly conceded 2 goals. And we've lost the game. And I think it's so disappointing. The one thing I will say is, and this is sort of the when we were talking about it this morning in Rambler's chat, I've been crying out for Andre Brooks in the side. So I brought him on game before last, and then he started him this game. And in neither game has Andre Brooks looked great. He's looked okay in flashes. So if that's what Wilder's been seeing in training, then it's understandable why Andre Brooks hasn't been getting in, because he's not really up to the level that we need him to be in the Premier League. That might be the case with Sam Curtis. So that is the only out I can give him in regards to those substitutions, which just screams at how poor the quality of the squad is, unfortunately, and how big a job we've got in the summer. So that was something I wanted to talk about, and I'm open to. I'm not going to blindly defend Chris Wilder. I'm sure he'd hold his hands up himself and say that. McBurney injured again. Is that the last we've seen of Ollie McBurney? And is that the last we've seen of James McAtee? He went down injured, holding his groin. You know, it's highly unlikely he returns next season. Are both those players done in a Sheffield United shirt? Could well be. I'll get to your comments now just to start the conversation. So that's 12 minutes of rambling. So apologies for going off on one, but there were a lot to talk about from last night. And obviously we've got Newcastle up next. What's your thoughts? CJ, good evening, pal. Thought we did okay last night, Jimmy. I did too. Vital that we keep hold of Gus in the summer and build a team around him and Blaster. Massive but exciting summer ahead. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Much appreciated. Dublin Blade, good evening, mate. Man U fan in work today was very impressed by our Blaster last night. We need to build a midfield around him and Hamer next season. His coloured boots out for the rest of the season. From what I understand, yeah, McBurney's done. Out for the season. He's put some stuff on social media. It ain't over yet. Love art, Blades emoji. So it leads some to believe he might have signed, or he might be on the verge of signing. I'm leaning towards no. I don't know what you guys think, but it's a no for me. In terms of Blaster impressing, he's not just impressing some fans of Man U. I'm sure he will be impressing a lot of people. You know, hot young property, and we've got a real gem on our hands there. Reffing tonight in the CSL, says Mr. Magoo. Thought we'd seen the last of Sousa. He's god-awful. I don't know what he was trying to do for the third and fourth goals. Prime time for Curtis for Bogle. Yeah, I agree. Having players to learn what exactly being on the bench. Yeah, we're a frustrating one for me, that. May not have changed the outcome, but why not put Curtis and Slimani on instead of our bad luck charm Norwood? He's been great for us in the past, but that time is now sadly gone. I agree, Wayne. I agree. Sometimes you can hold on to a player too long that it tarnishes his legacy. I think that happened with John Fleck a little bit. You could argue that it happened to Enda Stevens in terms of I think like Mark Duffy went out, getting promotion from the Championship. Unfortunately for him, never got to play in the Premier League. But you saw what happened to him after that. It was the right time for him to leave Sheffield United, because I think he struggled to get in the Stoke side the following season. But he left the Blades on a high. And that's the ideal for every player, isn't it? You don't ever want to see him go past the best. And it looks like we've done that with a few players, and Norwood now fits that category too. Thinking it may be the end of the road for old coloured boots. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, liking and subscribing really does help us out. We're 21, I think, away now from the big 4K. Evening, Jimmy, says Rich. Good evening, pal. Evening, Prince Abdullah. Proud of the lads last night. Gave effort. Don't mind losing if they show effort like that. Absolutely. Our subs at the moment aren't game changers. They're step downs. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I'm loving all this support for the liking and subscribing. Thank you. Evening, Jimmy. Good evening, Thomas. What a fantastic 2 fingers to Wilder from Wes it was. Loved it at half-time. CW put his arm around Wes and he totally blanked him. Should have been in after Gerbich's second game. I think there's a danger of romanticising how good Wes has been for us, or how average/bad Wes has been as well. I know there were some strong Wes supporters still when he came out of the team, but the majority of us had turned and thought it's time for a change. So we can't. It's very easy when players are out of the team. We've talked about this a lot as well. You remember them a lot more fondly. You know, Wilder's been talking about if we'd have had Basham, Egan, and Robinson in this side, we probably wouldn't have conceded so many goals. Well, Robinson's been inside most of the season. You wouldn't really change Basham for an L if you're right. Egan's the big difference for me, and obviously Robinson on current form. But we can't romanticize about, you know, it's not Peter Schmeichel, even though he looked like it last night. Best decision of the year, giving Blaster the armband, says John. Good evening, mate. Hope you're well. Absolutely. Loved that. Loved it. On another note, just goes to show what's happened to the club in the past few years. We've given the armband to a 20-year-old kid who was on loan at Vale a few months ago. Yeah. And to be fair, you're right. What a meteoric rise for him. I think he's played 8 Premier League games in total, and they're not obviously full games. Port Vale have dropped like a stone since he's left, and they've done nothing but praise him online, and thank you to them for that. But, you know, he's some player, isn't he? For context, they're bottom of League One. Yeah, they are now. They weren't when he were there. In Blaster, I trust. Me too, mate. Me too. The team at the bottom of the league made a top 6 team look ordinary, says Rob. Enjoy. Yeah, that's right. We did. I thought we played very well last night. We were obviously under Kosh and we were out of possession an awful lot, but we look good on the break. I think we look competitive now. It's just we haven't got the squad depth. And that's down to Wilder in terms of looking competitive. That's down to Wilder as well. So as much as people can rightly criticise or question the substitutions, that's fair. But we are at least giving it a go. And I think giving in a chance, which is going to be wholesale changes, let's be right, in the summer, to bring in players of that ilk, I think I'm confident and I'm looking forward to the summer. Wes played well, but gave up 4 goals, so clearly we have more than a goalkeeper problem. Yes, we do. Very fair point. It's not just the keeper that we need. We need to upgrade in this team, is it? Didn't think Wes played bad, to be honest, says Danny Boy. A lot better than garbage at the moment. Thought Man U got a rub of the green a little with a few decisions. What do you expect from a corrupt Prem? Our faces don't fit. Up the champ. So I've seen a few people commenting about this. I don't think it was a penalty. I don't think it was anywhere near a penalty. But it's kind of negated by the fact that they'd put the ball in the back of the net when play was still ongoing. I know the ref had blown the whistle for a pen, and it was the quickest VAR decision ever. And they were always going to give it because they knew they'd messed up. So it was one of the weakest pens you'll ever see, but it was purely because they should have allowed play to continue. If it hadn't have been given or the ref hadn't blown for a pen, that goal would have been legit, which is probably why they ended up. They've gone the round the back way to correct the mistake, in my opinion. I also think they got Robert Green in other decisions, but you expect that going to Old Trafford, don't you? And it's unfortunate, but that's been known for 20, 25 years. Armband doesn't leave Blaster's arm again, says Bry. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? Because going by Wilder's post-match yesterday, on his press conference post-match, I think he was saying maybe he's captain now. Maybe he's the one that everybody follows because he can do that job. He's shown he can grow with every opportunity we present to him. He's met it head on. Do you give it back to Robinson? Do some of you give it back to Robbo and have Arblaster as vice captain? What happens when Egan comes back into the fold? I don't think he's necessarily a vocal leader, Egan, but he's an organiser, isn't he? He certainly gets the defence sorted out better than we've been for the vast majority of the season. So who gets the armband? And what a great position to be in, because you'd have looked at the team 3-4 weeks ago when an L's wearing armband and you're thinking, we haven't got any leaders here. There's a couple. Arblaster's starting to emerge as a leader. Robinson's improved immensely, emerging as a leader. Egan's hopefully coming back. Won't be before end of season, but hopefully we retain him. That's three that are potential captains. Evening, Jimmy, says Neil. Good evening, pal. I've not been a fan of Wes, but he did a brilliant job, 100% professional job, and yet again, quality. The quality of the other teams become clear, and that's something we don't have. Up the Ramble. That's right. We're just not good enough at the level, are we? And that's fair. One's just scored, playing well. Yeah, it's under 21s, and not to drive anybody away from the stream, but It's poor timing on my part. It's under 21s against them lot. And last I heard, we were 1 up. So Gazza's going to catch us later because he's watching it. 1-0 only is scored. Well done, Wes. Up the blades. Top man. David, good evening. One of our Platinum Ramblers. Wes was on form yesterday, but for me, Captain Blaster Supreme. Up the Ramble, up the blades. Like. I'm not a Wes fan, I assume you mean, Andrew. But last night he played great. I agree. I'm in that same camp. Welcome back, Craig. I know you've struggled sort of maintaining that, haven't you? I think it's like a glitch that you have to keep resubmitting your membership, but very much appreciated, pal, as always. Thank you, mate, and welcome back. David Vinter, same old, did okay. Just not good enough. On to Newcastle. Not many more to suffer. Up the blades, up the Ramble. I know, not many more to suffer. It's bad, isn't it, that when we're thinking like that? It's true, though. Rob, good evening, mate. Good performance. Wes played well, but not the goalkeeper for me. That's a position we must improve. Bringing 2 new goalkeepers, our bench is letting us down. Blaster and Hamer need to be built around next season. Up the blades, up the Ramble. I completely agree with that as well. I think those 2 in midfield are absolute nailed on. Walking to the side. Good evening, John. Got to keep Wes in now and build the team around Blaster next season. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Loving this. Thank you. Danny Boy, defo need a consistent keeper for the start of next season. I know Johansson's available on the cheap, but he's still conceded a fair few goals. Would be a good addition for competition, but no new deal for Fod. So I think Victor Johansson goes without saying. I'm going to start doing some transfer target videos. So get your suggestions in on who you want me to have a look at. Obviously, I like to bring a few names to the table myself. But we've got Victor Johansson that a lot of people talk about. We've got Mike Cooper that I always talk about. They're a given that they'll be on my list. But who else has impressed you this season that you've seen that we need to have a look at? Some have mentioned Sam Tickle. Some have mentioned the Swansea keeper on loan at Brighton. Some have mentioned Lee Nichols at Huddersfield because it looks like they're going down. So let me know what names you're thinking for a goalkeeper, because obviously we've got a lot of players to bring in, but that means we've got a lot of money to spend in terms of to be spent in. We're not going to have loads and loads of money, but there's lots of areas to improve is probably the best way to put it. So the money's going to be spread. Some will be loans. So you might want to loan in a keeper and spend more money on a left wing back because we haven't got a decent left wing back. That sort of thing. So let me know what you're doing with your budget, and I'm going to start piecing together some recorded rambles where we talk through some targets, which I always enjoy doing. It's one of my favourite things to do, the targets and transfers. I think he gave the armband to Arblaster to wind some of the seniors up, but Arblaster played great again, says Andy. I think he gave it to Arblaster because Arblaster epitomises everything that Wilder says he wants from a Blade's side. Not just because he's a Blade, but because he's a Blade, he understands what's needed. So he keeps going. He keeps running. He's fighting for everything. He's up and down the pitch. He puts a foot in. He carries the ball well. He's confident. He gets his head up. He sticks his chest out. Don't go hiding. Loads of likeable characteristics about Arblaster's game. And I think that's why he's captain. You might have something in that, but I don't think it's been to upset anybody else. I think it's because he thinks he's the best man for the job. Great news regarding the land at the back of the Cop. Now belongs to the Blades again. Could that be the key to getting a buyer for us, says Chris. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. It cannot hurt. We've had this question in our group tonight. Can't hurt, can it? Can't hurt at all. Just another asset added to the portfolio of what you're getting with Sheffield United. It now means we can develop the back of the Cop. Some people have talked about fan zones and things like that. That I don't know if we're going to go to that level. I don't know if this ownership sees that as a short to medium term thing, or whether he just thinks it's going to go back into the pot and be a more attractive buy now. But from what I understand, we've got a very good deal on that land, and it's great to have it that sort of those options back in Sheffield United's favour now. So great news for the club. Tom says the same. Good news on ground behind the Cop. Bogle has been a revelation recently up the Ramble. Yes, he has. Can't say anything else about Bogle. I question his defensive abilities, but recently he's been playing very well defensively as well. He's been one of the standout players, if we're right. So Bogle poses an interesting question, though, because we're now, as far as I'm aware, in a similar position to Illiman and Sander. I believe we've got a 1-year extension option on Bogle, which we will clearly activate. If he's not willing to sign a new deal, and I'm not saying he's not willing to sign a new deal, but if it turns out that he's weighing up his options and wants to do what George Baldock's done and Ollie McBurney's done, and we can't get him tied down in time, what do you do in the summer? Do you hold on to him because he'll be a really strong right wing back in the Championship and try and get out of the league? Or do you, knowing that money's tight for us, we've got a deficit, we might be able to get 5 million quid for him. Do you take that 5 million quid and go buy Victor Johansson and another right wing back? What do you do? What do you do? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Yeah, Tom says behind Cop. Yes, that's right, mate. Man Mountain, good evening, mate. Hope Ronnie's all right. One of my favourite ramblers, little Ronnie. Just hope Wilder's not trying to up Blaster's value by bigging him up and making him captain. Will he be sold to finance the rebuild? Big boys are circling. 13 shots on target for them. Wes playing for a move. Yeah, Wes is playing for a move. I think somebody put it into a group, and it's a fair point. Everybody's playing for a move, aren't they? You know, you play not only well for your club, but for yourself. Wes is clearly playing for another contract. Put himself well in the shop window. Yeah, with another club, I mean. Put himself well in the shop window. Played very well. Can't say anything other. Even if Wilder is trying to up Blaster's value, smart. If a club comes in for Ollie Arblaster, and I know we talked about this, Paul, on the Ramble on 1 at 90 after 90s, I think every player for Sheffield United is for sale. We've got to get away from the fact that we're going to build around this man. We're going to build around that man. So if somebody meets Gus Hamer's release clause, he'll go. If somebody offers us 25, 30 million for Ollie Arblaster, I'm not saying they would, but he'll likely go. You know, we've got to be realistic with where we are as a football club, because that might be good value for us. 25 million quid and a 20% sell on, you know, add-ons for England caps and all this sort of stuff, because he's going to be a great player. You know, who could turn down and move to Liverpool or Chelsea or something like that? So it's tough, isn't it? So even if he is upping the value, making him captain, which might make him want to stay if clubs are circling, but making him captain, making him seem even more indispensable to the club, is that a little bit harder to get away, or he might cost a little bit more to get away. So even if that is part of the thinking, smart for me. Fresh start, says Rich. Thank Wes for his service and overhaul the spine, which includes him. He wants first team football. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. I'm worried now that Blaster's playing well. A big hitter will come in and swoop him from us. We've got to build a team around him and Hamer for next season. They can't go at any cost unless £30 million offer. So that's what I'm saying, Danny. If a £30 million offer comes in, you can see, I don't think the Prince can win in that scenario, because if you take the money, then, you know, you're killing the club, because we could build around that player, which we could. But I would love us to dig our heels in with Ollie Arblaster, make a statement. I'd sell an L before him. Sousa, obviously, these players aren't going to go for that same amount, but sell an L, sell Sousa, sell Larouche is not our player, but sell Traore, whoever you want, Slimani, and yeah, build around somebody like Ollie Arblaster. He's the jewel in the crown for me. Him and Gus Hamer in the Championship alongside each other, they're all already looking great together. Yeah, fingers crossed. But look, it might come to a point where that happens, and we've got to be ready for that. McBurney and Brewster have to go, says Andrew. We're not getting much from them, plus the made a glass gets shut. So many injuries, isn't there? So many injuries. Andy, good evening, pal. We played well last night, but when Bogle went off, I feared the worst. Yeah, because he's not only did we replace him with Norwood, which is a shocker, he's been playing really well, hasn't he? Why is it the Ollies make our team worse? The Ollies make our team worse. Not going to pull CW down again. No, that's fair enough, mate. Not all the Ollies. We've got an Ollie Arblaster now, remember, but I know what you're saying, mate. Don't think lanky lads are going to play for us again. Injured yet again. Not consistent and just a waste of a wage. Bet we can get a few. in on his money alone. I know it's 20 million down the drain, but best for the club. I think the vast majority are coming around to that way of thinking, to be honest. Need to add some of the rumours are ridiculous about possible signings. Up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe. Tell me, Mandy. Tell me. I know we're going slightly over time as normal, but we didn't have a debrief, did we, after Man U? So, yeah, I'm happy to talk about any rumours. Let you know when I think about them. John says, anyone else looking forward to a season in the Champ where we have a fair playing field and no VAR? I, for one, can't wait. Me too, mate. Me too. It's shocking, isn't it, though, when you're thinking about stuff like that. Wes isn't good enough. Hasn't ever been. Big summer ahead. I fancy Wilder building his squad on £14.37. He's not been good enough. He's not been good with millions, but he managed to assemble great squads on a budget. That's my thoughts exactly. He's at his best when he's under this sort of pressure to build a backs-to-the-wall squad up against it on a budget. You're a group of misfits that nobody believes in. We're going to do this together rather than, Ryan Brewster, 23 million. Ollie McBurney, 20 million. Missing a treat. All right, Bri. Half time, so, don't try and pull people off screen, pal. Thanks. No, I'll be on it, mate. I'll be on it as soon as we're done here. Agree, John? No way in the world is that pen given the other end. VAR has ruined the Prem for me at the minute. It has me, mate. Inconsistency is dreadful. Much better competition in the Championship. Looking forward to the rebuild. Me too, mate. Me too. Evening, Bill. Thoughts on the Norwood sub? I've given him earlier, mate, and I think it was a shocking call, to be honest. Been banging the drum that Curtis obviously isn't ready or he'd have played him by now, but a few determined to find CW at fault. Curtis further away than we thought. Must be. It must be. I've offered that as a potential, mate. If it weren't for CW, Chris Wilder, we wouldn't have been anywhere near as in that game as we were. So Wilder got us to the point where we could lose it. So I understand some are blaming him for the subs. I don't understand the logic of Norwood, as I've said. But Chris Wilder got us and kept us in that game. We went in front twice at Old Trafford. The pressure of the armband didn't affect his game like it does others, says Rob. Even if he's not captain next season, he'll be a leader we've been missing. I know. It's great in it to have somebody like that come through. Again, from a brilliant youth academy. Evening, Bri. Garbage should not get in there. Again, all being well. I don't think he will. Disappointed Sousa came on. Must get rid. Sticking with my opinion. Up the blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. I didn't think we'd see Sousa again. But I think I did say on the last one, it wouldn't have surprised me if we did, just because of how thin the squad is. I don't think he'd be bringing him on if he had much of a choice. I know, of course, he's got a choice, but yeah, it's slim pickings, isn't it, off our bench at the minute, unfortunately. I like Philogene, maybe with the money we get from your son. No chance, mate. No chance. We're not spending that sort of money on one player when we've got so much to do. I'd love it, Andy. And my dad's a big fan of Philogene. Philogene is not my lover. Good player and done really well at Hull, but we're not getting anywhere near him. They'll want 15, 20 million easy. Loved Blaster digging out Bruno in the build-up to the pen. He's confident and believes in himself. Him being in will help other lads from the youth team, up the blades, up the ramble, up the 21s. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Don't mind the idea of loaning a keeper. Worked with Hendo. What about someone like Fraser Forster out of favour and getting on in age? He's really getting on in age, I think, mate. That's the only reason I wince a little bit. Would be expensive, obviously, and ambitious, but great. Yeah, maybe. I'd like a younger keeper if we could. But again, if he's not staying with us, if he's a lone keeper, then, it makes no difference how old he is, does it, I suppose? On Bogle, if he won't sign a deal, I'd cash in. It's a sensible red line boundary to have. If players want to enter the final 12 months without committing, get their value in the kitty instead. I tend to agree with that. And I'm really pleased with how Bogle's playing at the minute, but we've got to look after the future of the club. And if we can get a cash in on him when he's at peak value with 12 months left, I think we've got to use that to go back in the kitty. Would you bring Archer back for the Championship next season on a loan to buy option? I think he could tear up the Championship next season, says Danny. And if we can renegotiate the Villa deal, it would be a good deal for us. I would 100% bring Cameron Archer back next season. Everybody knows how highly I think of him. He hasn't done the business this season, which, sort of tarnishes my reputation slightly, whatever reputation that was. But I still believe in Cameron Archer. I think he, with the right service and certainly in the Championship, he'd be on fire. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. A little bit like Philogene. It's not happening, mate. He doesn't want to play in the Championship. He's said that time and time again. And he won't come and play in the Championship with us, I don't think. I'll be very, very surprised. Come on, no club's going to offer anything like 20 million as yet. He'll be here next season. Stop trying to sell him. John, I am certainly not trying to sell him. Don't get me wrong. I want him to be the man that we build around. So yeah, I hope nobody does. I hope nobody does offer us out. And I hope even if they do, it's a strong rebuttal from the club. That'd be a real marker to put down, wouldn't it? Never thought I'd feel all right after a 4-2 loss, says Steve. Yeah, absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the last couple of goals going in, but I enjoyed the game. Hoyland and Andy the Blade, new recruitment. Absolutely right. He's always at the end of the phone if they want to give him a ring. Not at minute. He's in Benidorm. Hope you're having a good time, Dad. What about the free kick he gave against Trusty? Awful. Awful, I thought. Where can Trusty go? It's not a free kick for me. He kicked the ball past Trusty and ran into him. Really poor decision. Although I love Blaster as captain, just goes to show that the weak characters we've got in the squad. Yeah, I think John made a similar point earlier, pal, that, we've got a captain who were on loan at Port Vale at the beginning of the season, who are now bottom of League One, which is 20-year-old kid. It says a lot, doesn't it? Swap Philogene for Brewster and Souza. They'll see us coming, mate. They'll definitely see us coming. Wes kicking off on his Twitter tonight about proving people wrong. You still let 4 in, mate? Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll go have a look at that in a minute. Matthew says we need tall, strong, pacey, athletic players. It's that simple. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. What, like Vinny Souza? He's not particularly pacey, but I know what you're saying. I think we need resilient, robust players rather than athletic necessarily. So I want players who are going to be durable and not break at the first, awkward turn that they make in training or something. Rob says that's why we need to get shut of Wes. His character stinks. We don't need that at the club. Yeah, he'd put something out earlier before the game saying, keep your mouth shut, prove more wrong or something like that, whatever it was. Don't get me wrong, he did. He proved, he made Wilder look a little bit daft by playing so well, but that benefits Sheffield United. So who's won there, really? I think Wilder's won it long run. And like you said, like Steve says, he's still let 4 in. So he played very well last night. I don't want to take anything away from his performance, but it's one of them things, isn't it? We've got Newcastle up next. We haven't even touched on it, but I've got to 40 minutes and we normally only do half an hour. It's getting to the point where, because these games don't really matter, I just want to see how the team plays now. It's not about, I'll give you a score prediction. I think we could do all right, and squeak out maybe a 1-1 at St. James's, because Newcastle are so inconsistent and they've got some injury issues themselves, from what I understand. I'm more interested now in how the team gels. And that team that he put out last night was a team that we could build around. Obviously, Archer and Brereton Diaz won't be here. There's rumours that Holgate may come back. Whether that happens or not is obviously well up in the air. Anel may go. But Arblaster, Brooks, Gus Hamer, hopefully. Bogle, who knows? Ozzy will be here. I'd like to have a starting left wing back in the team. You'd like Jack Robinson in back line next season, John Egan, new goalkeeper, alongside, Allgate there as well. I think there's a nucleus there of something that we're starting to build. So I want to see, it's more about how we play for me at Newcastle on Saturday. I'm going to try and do, and this is a try because we're at the Caravan this weekend, so I'm going to watch the game, but then I'm going to try and do a 90 after 90 from Filey. So there's the connection issues to worry about. There's also Mrs. Ramble going crazy that I'm spending our night away talking to you lot. So I'm sure I'll be able to get around it. No problem at all. Wish me luck with that. But, how do you think we're going to go on at Newcastle? Let me know in the comments. Are you that bothered, or is it now more about performance and building in terms of pride? I think that's more important at the moment now, to be honest. Still trusting in Wilder? I certainly do. Let me know what you think. But for now, Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade!